right. Well, today we have a very special guest speaker, Dawne Bunn, who is not only the executive director for the Tennessee Alzheimer's Association, she's also a good friend of mine, and she's been there for me through a lot and through my journey with this and my family with this unfortunate and cruel disease. So I'm David Adams. Some of you on here are clients of mine. Others, have signed up for other reasons and from other places and don't know me. I run a wealth management practice here in Nashville for about 20 years. But more importantly, let me tell you about my why and why I'm involved with this amazing organization. So in 2017, we realized that something was off with my mother, and she was an amazing mom, so sweet and kind. Anybody who knew her loved her. She raised me and my sister so well and was very close with us. So it was obviously very, very hard to watch. And so my dad in 2017, he opened up to me that he was worried about my mom, that something was off after I kind of picked up on some things. So then, me being the type A personality that I am and the Mr. Fix It, I went into fix it mode and I've started researching all the doctors in Nashville because they were in Memphis. I was determined to send her all over the country to find the best care. And one second here. And through that, let's see. Yes. And so, and through that journey, I was watching her, watching her decline and everything. I realized how hard it was to get this information. Looking for you had to be your own advocate. So I'm researching about potential diagnosis. Is it Alzheimer's? Is it dementia? Is it Lewy body? Is it Parkinson's? And it really is a full-time job. And so through that, and through just kind of putting my head against the wall and saying, I don't know what to do here, I started reaching out to more and more people. Fast forward for about the next couple of years, 3-4 years, we watched her continue to go forward and decline, at a slow pace, going in and out of, different doctors. And at one point we tried a memory facility, but she really wasn't at that stage. So we took her back out and then in 2020, right before COVID, she fell and she broke her hip and her foot. And this is when it all got worse. So she had to go, anesthesia really exacerbated the Alzheimer's and kind of pushed it forward. At that point, she had to go into a memory care facility. The family got around, my dad supported him. We got her there, and then COVID happened. And as you can imagine, that was very difficult because it was so hard and so heartbreaking to not be able to spend time with her and to have her there alone. But we couldn't do anything about it, us and a lot of other people. And so by the time we could go spend time with her, maybe a year after that, she was mostly gone, unfortunately. So in 2022, now it's 2022, I reached out to really get support from my father. I knew he needed some sort of group, some sort of camaraderie, some people around him, some support. And I ended up getting in touch with the Alzheimer's Association, which led me to meeting Dawne, who's about to speak here in a minute. And she became just a great resource for me and my father. We became involved in the walk. My dad, got some friends and did the walk in Memphis. We started a team and became a sponsor here in the Nashville walk a couple of years ago. My dad and my dog Jolene, who's at my feet right now, she's walked in with us both years, and now again this year we're going to be supporting that as well. And then unfortunately, my mother passed away in January of last year, 2023. A lot of feelings around that. I mean, it was such a long, exhausting journey that there was a peace that overcame us, being able to know that she was in peace. But I tell you what that did for me is it's really increased my commitment to helping this amazing organization and wanting to be a part, be around, and be a catalyst for them to find treatments and better treatments and ultimately a cure. And also to be a resource to all of you and other people and clients and friends, and an advocate if and when you ever have to experience this cruel disease. So that's my why. That's why I'm here. And I'm going to turn it over to Dawne Bunn.
Thanks so much, David. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate hearing the story, and your family has been impacted like so many families. I'm going to share my screen so that folks can see slides. So thank you again for having me today. I want to just start by asking folks to let us know you're here. If you don't mind using this QR code, you can let us know you're here, let us know you're participating, and then let us know if you need more information. We want to be able to be a good resource to everybody who's with us today. And so, you know, as David shared, and sadly, the story that David shared is not so unlike so many, and but every journey is a little bit different. And at the Alzheimer's Association, we're fighting for all of those who are living with Alzheimer's and dementia, as well as their caregivers. As David shared, that care partner, that role that he and his father played is so terribly difficult. And every journey is different. I heard a researcher say once, every time you meet one person with Alzheimer's, you meet one person with Alzheimer's, because the journey, though they may be similar, it's really, really individual and different for everybody. So Alzheimer's disease is the fifth leading cause of death here in the United States. And sadly, those numbers are just going to continue to grow. I'd like to just share a quick video that summarizes our 2024 facts and figures. The Alzheimer's Association releases a report with tons of data every March. And this is from our 2024 facts and figures. Obviously, the statistics are staggering, but I think what's also important to note is there is that heart and those families that are behind these statistics. But something I think everyone should know is the numbers do continue to rise. So there are a lot of folks on this journey with us, and that number 7 million went up from last year was 6 million. And since I've been with the association, it's gone from 4 million to 7 million. So that, again, those numbers are staggering. I think because, we're all somehow connected to the mission, but maybe just not everyone has that personal connection. The cost is something that everyone should be aware of. This disease costs $360 billion currently to all US citizens, everyone paying taxes. And we know that cost will continue to rise. It has that huge impact on business, it has a huge impact on the workforce. So I did get this question before we started, so I will talk a little bit about the relationship between Alzheimer's and dementia. So dementia really is that umbrella. It's a collection of symptoms that really affect our day-to-day living, and Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. There are other types of dementia, including frontotemporal, Lewy body, vascular, Parkinson's, and they all in some way affect cognitive ability, and they are all a little bit different. And we did get a question about diagnosis. So most of the time, a diagnosis will be a clinical diagnosis, though because of the investment of the Alzheimer's Association in research, there is now currently a PET scan that can verify amyloid and tau in the brain, which are the signature hallmarks of Alzheimer's. And that's really critical as well. Unfortunately, it's a very expensive test and not all insurance policies cover it. If you do have additional questions, by the way, please put them in the Q&A. We'll be happy to answer them. So at the Alzheimer's Association, like I said, we're fighting this disease every day. We want to be sure that people know that we're here for them while they're on this journey, but we're also fighting for treatments and other types of opportunities through testing and modifiable risk factors. But we often get this question about, how do I know, I'm having some memory challenges. I'm really worried. I do have a family history. First of all, please consult your physician. The very first place to start, if you are having memory challenges, please talk to your physician. It's not always caused by dementia. You could be taking a medication that could be affecting your memory. You could have an undiagnosed thyroid condition or diabetes or something like that that is not tied to dementia. So please talk to your physician. These are some of those 10 early warning signs. And, what I often will say is, every single one of us walks into Target and cannot remember where we parked our car. But if we can take those steps to realize, to find our car, sort of using our magic clicker, right, on our keys, remembering, I came in from the store from this side. And so backtracking to where you parked your car. I think I parked right next to the cart thing, and you can kind of go and find your way. Then, that's not that early warning sign. But if somebody cannot remember or figure out how to find their car in the Target parking lot and you're literally standing in the store and you just cannot go through the processes, that's something that you'll want to talk to your physician about. And again, these warning signs are memory loss that disrupts your daily life. So take a look at these. If you ever have any questions, we also have a 1-800 helpline, which we'll share shortly. So there are populations that are higher at risk. The Black African American community is 2 times more likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the Hispanic Latinx community is also 1.5 times more likely. And sadly, as women, we make up 2/3 of those who are living with the disease, but we're also more likely to be the caregivers. So as women, we kind of get it from both sides of the spectrum. But, there are things that we can do, right, to keep our brain healthy. There are non-modifiable risk factors. So age is the most common risk factor for Alzheimer's. Your gender, we just talked about, we can't choose to be a woman or a male. So those are going to be risk factors that we cannot modify. We cannot modify our race. But there are things that we can do to keep our brain healthier and to reduce our risk. So this is where we talk a little bit about the 10 healthy habits for your brain. And one of the things right now, we're all participating in something that's exercising our brain. We're here for this webinar to learn more and about Alzheimer's and dementia, and we're exercising. Maybe you're with a friend right now, so you're socializing. Stay in school, learn a language. Those are really good ways to challenge your brain. Keep moving. And this does not mean you have to go and run 10 miles every day. If you do 30 minutes of stretching, studies say that is enough movement for your body to really modify those risks. Eat healthy. They recommend that Mediterranean diet so that you're eating those healthier fats, those olive oils, the avocados, the fish, the salmon. Control your blood pressure. I think one of the questions that we received was the connection between Alzheimer's and other diseases. And this is really when you're able to manage your diabetes and manage your cardiovascular health, those are all things that are modifiable risk factors. So keep that blood pressure down and protect your head, and then sleep. That's just really one of the hardest things that I think all of us who work hard and have families and have lots of commitments, remember to make time for that sleep. That's going to be one of the most important things to keep you healthy. All right, so we have talked a little bit about the impact on caregivers. So, a lot of people are in the sandwich generation. So those are folks that are also caring for young children while also caring for their aging parents. And really, we need to make sure that our caregivers are taking care of themselves. And so the Alzheimer's Association is, as we move forward in our next 10 years of our strategic plan, we're looking very closely at what are those opportunities for dementia caregiving navigation, because caregiving is very challenging, causes a lot of emotional stress, costs a lot for our workforce and others. And really, look, we're 11 million Americans are providing unpaid care, and they're also trying to hold down a job. Those are really challenging. It's very challenging and causes a lot of stress. So again, we need to be caring for our caregivers. So we talked a little bit about the impact of Alzheimer's in the workplace, and 6 out of 10 caregivers are employed. So we know that they're trying to hold that job while also caring for a loved one, and that is really going to impact them and their absenteeism at work. And so we do work with a lot of companies where we'll come in and we'll do education programs for large employers. We want employers to know that there are caregivers that are working at those companies, whether they're coming forward or not. We know that they're there, and we want to be caring for those caregivers and providing them resources. And so if anybody wants to have us come out and do a presentation at your company, we would love to do that. We would love to be connected with your human resource department so that we can be a resource for large employers in the area and across the country. So a little bit about the Alzheimer's Association. So obviously we're trying to tackle this disease from a lot of different directions, but we're working hard to accelerate that global research. David talked a little bit about that at the beginning, and I'm going to get into a few more details here in a minute. That early detection diagnosis piece is so critical. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't seek a diagnosis until their challenges are kind of getting into the dangerous area. And so the earlier we can diagnose, the better the health outcomes are going to be. And we do have treatments now, which is so very exciting. We've made progress because of the incredible support of partners like Adams Wealth Partners and David and other companies who support us financially, and other individuals. We are making progress. The first treatment that addresses the underlying cause of the disease, it's called Leqembi, was approved by the FDA back in July of 2023. And we just got great news last week. This is cutting edge news. The second treatment that addresses the underlying cause of the disease has been recommended by a special advisory committee within the FDA, for unanimously agreed and recommended that treatment now be approved by the FDA. So it has not yet been approved. It's called donanemab. These are all really fun names. Donanemab has not yet been approved, but we do anticipate it will be approved in the next sort of 60 to 90 days. So that's exciting. But those treatments do address one element of Alzheimer's. There's 2 signature hallmarks. It's amyloid and tau, and those are both anti-amyloid medications. So we're hoping to diversify the offerings within treatment, because it will take a combination therapy to cure this disease. But it is exciting. Donanemab, the 50% of participants in the phase 3 trial did see 0 progress for an entire year. So 0 progress of the disease for an entire year. So it's really slowing down that disease, not yet curing it, but slowing it down. So that's critical. And then we want people to know that we're here for them now while they're on this journey, through education programs, support groups, other resources that we can provide. We talked a little bit about being able to come into your company, but we're also out in the community providing education year round. And we're advocating. We advocate at the state and federal level for legislation that supports our constituencies. so that people know that we're here for you at all levels of the journey. We also, the Alzheimer's Association is instrumental in lobbying every year for the investment the US government makes in research. And so we went, in the last 10 years, we've gone from 400 million to 3.9 billion, which is so exciting. And that money is through the NIH, and the Alzheimer's Association is on the front line, making sure that that investment continues. But we talked a little bit earlier about the cost of the disease to the US, and that's 360 billion. So 3.9 billion and 360 billion still have a ways to go, but at least, you know, we're all there supporting and driving towards better testing, and potentially risk reduction therapy, which would be even better. The Alzheimer's Association is the largest nonprofit funder of research, and we have over 405 million active in projects, over 1,000 projects in 56 countries. So, you know, what we are funding is some of that seed funding for some of those things that are really innovative. For instance, now we talked earlier, you can get a PET scan, and the Alzheimer's Association actually was instrumental in developing the first tracer for those PET scans. So that, you know, we have played a role in almost every discovery within this field along the way. So research opportunities are out there, trials are out there for healthy individuals and those living with the disease. So please, there's a website called Trial Match, alz.org/trial match, where you can learn more about trials. We have over 2.5 million active in the state of Tennessee in research. Right here in our backyard, Vanderbilt University, there's projects at the University of Tennessee, as well as St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So again, you know, research is happening every day across the world. We are always here. We want to make sure that families know we're always here. Our 1-800 helpline, our 24/7 helpline is incredible. You'll reach a master's level clinician, and that helpline is available in over 170 languages. And you can call the helpline if you haven't been diagnosed, you have concerns about a loved one, you have been diagnosed, and you're faced with a challenging behavioral challenge. Really, the spectrum, they've seen all of the scenarios. They're really wonderful. I absolutely recommend that you reach out if you need support to our helpline. How can you help? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Walk to End Alzheimer's in just a minute, but you know, please reach out to us. We'd love to get you plugged in. We talked about those policy wins. That is through our volunteer advocates. We have advocates across the state, across the country, that are advocating with their state legislators and their federal legislators on policy. And we need more advocates, more people who are willing to tell their story. We talked about those education programs. If you'd like us to come to your company, please, we'd love to get involved. The trial match as well. And then just share within your community. Make sure if you know someone, a neighbor that needs support, make sure they know about the helpline, the 24/7 helpline. Put this number in your phone, 1-800-272-3900. Have it in your phone as a contact. So when you meet someone and they're really struggling on this journey, that you're able to share that resource with them. And then we have a great opportunity on our website, alz.org/community resource finder. And that's a really wonderful place to find other community partners that are supporting folks that are on this journey. So Miles, I'm not sure if there are any other questions that folks may have about our mission, and we can address some of those before we jump into the walk. And I do have a couple more questions here that I can answer as well.
Yeah, there was one that popped in here.
Great.
And I'll read it off here for you. It was, do you have or know of any guidance for caretakers who are unable to convince a parent to seek evaluation or treatment of any kind, even though they are showing symptoms?
Yes. So David might want to come on. We've probably both personally experienced this. My mother is also living with dementia, and those early stages are very hard when you're having concerns and your loved one is not really ready to talk about it, or they're scared. And I think in those early months, they know they're having challenges, but they're holding on to control with all their might. And that's a very scary time. So I think it always helps to, one, I always recommend that you talk to your physician, especially if it's a family physician, a trusted physician, because if they're sharing those concerns with your loved one and you are sharing those concerns and the spouse is sharing the concerns, and maybe you even have your pastor share their concerns, and several people who are trusted by your loved one are sharing those concerns and recommending that they talk to their physician, maybe that will encourage. And it does take time. It's not going to be a one conversation and snap the fingers the next day they set an appointment. It maybe will take 3 months or so for you to have that sort of nurturing time. David, do you have additional thoughts on that?
Well, I guess the way the question's asked, like I think back to when my dad was trying to, he was so scared to get my mom to go to a doctor to talk about this because he didn't want to upset her. And at first she was kind of resistant and she didn't think anything was wrong. So the best thing we did was she had a long-term relationship with their primary care physician. So me and my dad went and talked to him offline. And I called him from Nashville and said, "Hey, I really need to open up to you. And can you help us um, by not making it like it's a routine, just physical?" And then he started asking, how's your memory and different things? Because when I'm about your age, Miss Martha, and I know that I struggle remembering certain things. Let's do a little test. So kind of like getting it going that way was the only way we could really, get my mom comfortable going. And then that was a good start. And then he suggested, "Hey, why don't you let me give you a referral to this neurologist just to do some more checkups." So we kind of started that way. But it is really hard. I mean, especially if they're resistant or they get defensive or they get upset with you and that sort of thing, which we dealt with. But definitely going through a trusted advisor or doctor is the way to go, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of the neurologists or primary care will say, "Hey, why don't we just go get a baseline?" Right? So they're not saying anything is necessarily wrong, but hey, let's get a referral to this neurologist. It's around that good time for us to get a baseline. The helpline is amazing as well. They can help you with different recommendations based on your scenario, because everyone's scenario is just a little bit different. So 1-800-272-3900, but that is a really great question and it's really hard. So I would say give yourself grace, give your loved one some time, and hopefully they'll come around in time. So thanks, Miles. That was a great question. So, there was a question about diagnosis. And so most diagnosis is done clinically through a neuropsychologist. So you will start with a referral to a neurologist. They will probably get some cognitive testing through a neuropsychologist. And then if you are, if treatment is recommended by the physician with Leqembi, then you will need to confirm the Alzheimer's diagnosis with a PET scan. And so that is part of that research trial process. And, it is important to know if somebody has Alzheimer's or a different type of dementia, especially as these new treatments are coming through the pipeline. My mom is at a much later stage in the disease, so she is not eligible for treatment. But at those early stages, people are eligible for treatment with early stage Alzheimer's or early stage MCI. And so you do want to seek that Alzheimer's diagnosis because you might be eligible for treatment. And again, you would need to talk to your physician to make sure treatment is right for you. And we had another question about whether or not Alzheimer's and dementia is a terminal disease. And unfortunately it is. What will eventually happen, some people do pass away earlier on in the disease because of a comorbidity. So heart disease, unmanaged diabetes, different types of challenges that, sadly, some people even have cancer and other things that they're fighting at the same time. So some people do die earlier in the process from another type of disease, but you can die from Alzheimer's. So unfortunately, we lost my aunt to Alzheimer's last summer. And what eventually just happened is the plaques do sort of suffocate the brain, and she did just stop eating eventually. And sometimes folks living with the disease forget how to eat. They're not able to eat, and then eventually their body is just deprived of nutrition and they will pass away from the disease. And so it is a terminal illness. So again, it is important to be diagnosed if you have concerns about a loved one. So Miles, I think that's all the questions that we have on our end. And so I'll go ahead and start talking about the walk unless anyone else has put in a question.
Nope, there's no other ones in here, so feel free to continue on.
All right, great. So we love talking about the Walk to End Alzheimer's. Adams Wealth Partners is a sponsor of the Nashville Walk to End Alzheimer's. We have 600 walks across the country that happen between September and November. And what's great about these walks is they are sort of our front door. So sometimes people have a diagnosis or they're concerned about a diagnosis and they come to the walk like David did to learn about the disease. And so that is how a lot of people find us. And we have all of our resources there at the walk. And all kinds of resources from other partners at the walk to help people on this journey. It's a really special opportunity and celebration, and we lovingly call it the largest support group of the year. Family teams come together and every year to just be together at the walks. And in Nashville, our walk is on November 9th, but we have this beautiful promise flower ceremony where you have an opportunity to grab a flower that connects with your connection to the mission. And there will be a ceremony around those flowers, and then you can plant the flowers. It's really, really touching, very moving. And we talked a little bit about why walk, right? And there's so many reasons to walk. One being that we are making progress with research, and funds from the walk support the programs that we're doing in the community and the research, and we are making an impact. It's so exciting. And so these funds fuel our mission, and we'd love to get more people involved. So thanks to Adams Wealth Partners, they have been supporting us for a couple of years now as a sponsor. Adams Wealth Partners is the Pet Zone sponsor. You can see David there with our president and CEO, Joanne Pike, and his dad, Carl, and Jolene is there in the corner. But we'd love for you guys to come out and join the team. You can register today using this QR code to join David's team. And they're going to be the Pet Zone sponsor again this year.
Yes, we're excited to do it again. It was a lot of fun last year and met a lot of great people and some connections afterwards to be able to share stories with others and that sort of thing. So it's just a really special day, special morning. So we'd love to have you out. And again, if you want to start your own team, or you just want to come be a part of our team, we'd love to have you. It'd mean a lot.
That's great. So the Nashville Walk came in number 4 in the whole country last year. So we are going for number 1. We're going to keep working hard till we can get to that number 1, number 2 slot. But we start at 8 a.m. on November 9th. So come on down. Registration will be at 7. It's bright and early. So we have a great time together, and then you can go off and do whatever you need to do on your Saturday. So it's at First Horizon Park this year. So it's a new venue. We're super excited. So we hope that you guys will come out and join us. When you register, you get access to your participant center. So a link will be sent to you immediately after you register. And within your participant center, you can do all kinds of things. You can share to your socials. There's resources on how to fundraise. You've got posters and Zoom backgrounds and all kinds of fun things just at your fingertips. And then oh, here's some pictures of the Nashville walk from last year. It's again one of the largest walks in the country. We'll have over 2,000 people in 2024, probably more. Super excited for the walk on November 9th. We also have an app. I recommend downloading the app when you register, because you can upload checks. If friends or family give you checks, you can upload them just like your bank, and they'll go to your fundraiser. You can send texts and all kinds of things through your app. It's really, really turnkey, very easy to use. We have all kinds of fun incentives. We love our champions. Those are those who support us at the $500 level. But when you raise $100, you get our t-shirt. At $500, you get some fun things, including a champions medal. And then our incentives go up from there. And so every year we have just a robust incentive program, and that runs through December 31st. So it's never too late to continue your fundraising, even after the walk on November 9th. So the end is close. We hope you'll support us and join the fight to end Alzheimer's. David and I obviously are in this for very personal reasons, and we are not going to stop fighting. There's a lot of hope. I think this is our year of hope for future generations. You know, I don't want my daughter, who's 11, supporting me as my caregiver, as I support my mom as her caregiver. And that's why I fight, and I'll continue to do so. And I know David will be by my side.
Absolutely. Dawne, thank you so much for everything that you do. And you're just such a light at the organization, and you helped me and my dad a lot during our difficult time. So thank you.
Of course. And please reach out if anybody ever needs any help or support. We're here at the Alzheimer's Association 24/7.
Dawne, do you have a few minutes here? There was one more
Yeah.
question that came in.
Sure.
I can read it off to you here. So the question is, I currently have a parent with diagnosed dementia. It is fairly advanced, and thus we employ private caregivers to administer medicines, assist with baths, shepherding to meals, etc. The problem we have is that she refuses care. I don't need a bath. My doctor has taken me off my meds, etc. Any suggestions of thoughts on how to manage this situation?
Sure. Well, the medications is critical, right? And so I think that, you know, again, having that physician to be popping in to see your loved one every once in a while. I do recommend, we work with Blue Sky House Calls. They will come by your house and see your loved one. So it's not as hard to get them to the physician, but having that physician maybe have a phone call with your loved one just to remind them that taking their medications is critical. You know, I think the showers aren't as important as the medications. And my mom, sometimes she'll fight her shower. She gets 2 a week. She usually just wants the one. And I think that's okay. I think it's choosing your battles, right? Because showering is hard and bathing is hard for them. And so, you know, what can you do? You know, could you do a sponge bath, that type of thing? I think please I always recommend call the helpline. They have so many good little tips and tricks. We had a caregiver whose parent only wanted to wear one outfit, and my mom is getting close. She's almost there. And that one outfit, you know, washing and drying and, you know, getting it ready, it was really, really tearing down this caregiver. And it was such an obvious solution, but get 7 versions of that one outfit and have them available. And, you know, sometimes when you're in the just throes of caregiving, you're not thinking, you know, the sensible way, but, you know, there's just some easy solutions sometimes. I also think that my mom loves ice cream. So that is something that we use. She loves Dove bars. So if she's not wanting to do something, we do offer her a Dove bar if she'll do it, and she usually will. So I think adding incentives like a cookie or a chocolate or something sweet, because I think most people on this journey enjoy sweets, you know, as a way for them to take their medication every day. Hey, if you take your medication, you get your ice cream bar. That's not a terrible approach either.
Thank you, Dawne. Okay, that concludes all the questions we have. We're going to send out a replay of this presentation as well, probably in the next week or so. And you can reach out to myself or to Dawne or to Miles, any of our team. We'll make sure you get the right answers. And I'm here if you just need to talk about anything personally. anything I can do to help based on my story, or plug you in with Dawne or some of her resources. So thank you. Everybody keep fighting the good fight. I like that seeing this last slide, the end of Alzheimer's is closer than ever, and we need you. So I think that's very true. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Any opinions are those of myself and not necessarily those of Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information contained in these podcasts do not purport to be a complete description of the securities market or developments referred to in this material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Every investor's situation is unique, and you should consider your investment goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon before making any investment. Prior to making an investment decision, please consult with your financial advisor about your individual situation. Any hypothetical examples are for illustration purposes only. Actual investor results will vary. Raymond James does not provide legal or tax services. Please discuss these matters with the appropriate professional.